Welcome to Crucial Dialogue, hosted by Reverend Roger Gambrell and Reverend Clinton Thomas, where we discuss pivotal and controversial issues for those that need nurturing and clarity in the faith. Converse with us. Ask any question you want. Meet us online and join the dialogue. This is Crucial Dialogue.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Crucial Dialogue, where we discuss controversial and pivotal issues that need clarity in the faith. I am your co-host, Reverend Clinton Thomas. Glad to be with you on today. We have a special treat for you. Our normal panel of guests and my co-host won't be with us today. We have three very important persons that they represent the senior class of 2022. So we're glad that you joined us for this. Amen. We're glad that you joined us for this Youth Extreme, this extreme version of Crucial Dialogue. And so without further ado, let me introduce my panel for you today. Representing the class of 2022, we have Miss Phoebe joining us today. Hey Phoebe, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. We're excited that you chose to participate with us on Crucial Dialogue. And then we also have representing the class of 2022, we have Miss Heaven. Heaven, how are you doing?
I'm good today. Thank you for asking.
Wow, glad to have you. Glad that you are part of this dialogue that we're going to have today. And last but not least, representing the class of 2022, we have Sister Kendra. Kendra, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad to have you all. Well, I want you to sit back and relax. We're going to have a good time during this dialogue. And today's subject, today's topic, we're going to be discussing modesty. Okay. We're going to be discussing modesty. So, what we want you three, victorious women, as I could call you, we want you three to help us to help somebody when it comes to the conversation of dealing with modesty. Okay. And so before we get going, before we get started, I'm going to give a definition of modesty. All right. According to dictionary.com, modesty means the quality of being modest. All right. Freedom from vanity, freedom from boastfulness, a regard for decency of behavior, of speech, and of dress. Those are the three areas we want to discuss modesty in. My senior class of 2022. We're going to discuss behavioral modesty, modesty with our speech, and modesty with our dress. Okay? You got your seatbelts on, you buckled in, you ready to go? All right. Glad to have you all. So, let's talk with discussing this thing of modesty, okay? Talking about a regard for decency of behavior, a decency for speech, and a decency for dress, all right? So let's go around the panel. Let's go around the room. Let's talk about what role do you think society plays in our lives, mainly in the lives of ages, when it comes to modesty? What role do you think that society plays when it comes to modesty in the lives of teenagers? All right, we're going to start with Phoebe. Tell us what you think, Phoebe. Society and ladies in particular. Let's look at social media. Let's look at music, videos, video games, fashion, etc. So, ladies, what do you think? What role does society play when it comes to modesty dealing with teenagers? Help us out, Phoebe.
Okay, so social media has become such a big platform and especially an influence in young women's lives today to where we
Okay.
see so much of like less clothing, more of vanity. Like a lot of girls, they use less clothing and just like kind of like, oh, I'm gonna be this Instagram model and I'm gonna make money this way. And it creates this idea of where the standard of beauty is. And we find our
Okay.
beauty a lot of times through viewing these women, because growing up, if you have older women that are around you who teach you the right way, then you will have a better understanding of how you should dress and how you should carry yourself. But a lot of women, a lot
Okay.
of girls growing up, they don't have that. So they kind of view social media as, I guess, in a way they're influenced to see this is how I should be, this is how I should look. And in truthfulness, it's not truly a good influence. So I feel like today's society has created this image of how girls should look, how girls should dress, when in realistic terms, it's quite not in a way good for the the way that you view yourself. Because if you don't look a certain way and you don't feel like you're up to these standards, you create a self image that's not good for you, and it creates this idea in your head that you have to be perfect, which is not true. So I feel like society has created an kind of like an unrealistic idea of beauty.
Okay, okay. Great answer. Man, it seems like you've been doing this crucial dialogue thing. Great answer. All right, Heaven, tell us, help somebody out. What roles does society play when it comes to modesty, in particular social media, music, videos, video games, fashion, etc.? What are your thoughts on that? How do we help somebody when it comes to modesty and the influence that society has on our teenagers?
So I agree with Phoebe like 100%. Social media and like just society in general does not encourage modesty. Even been like even influencers themselves have said, when I wear less clothing, I get more likes. And so seeing that, you start wearing less and less because you want that approval. And I think one thing a lot of people, not even just young women, people struggle with in general is trying to find their identity in the world and not in Christ. And so when you
Okay.
start trying to find your identity in the world, that's when social media comes to play in, because the world is social media. And they're telling
Hmm.
you what how you should look, like Phoebe said, and what the standard of beauty is. But no, you should be your own standard of beauty. You shouldn't be looking and comparing, because when you start comparing, that's when you start backtracking. When that's like Lot's wife. She looked back, turned to a pillar of salt, but if she would kept on going forward, she it would have been a whole nother life path. And so I feel like once you start comparing yourself, it's like looking back, and then you become that salt and you're just stuck. And so I just feel like so many people try to find their identity in social media, and so that's why modesty is just not encouraged anymore, because the world is saying you need to show your body, you need to do this, you need to do that. And so we as young teens, we want to be accepted and we want everybody to like we do that.
Okay. All right, great answer. Thank you, Heaven. Man, you guys got, you ladies have this thing down. Kendra, help us out. How do we help some teenage young lady dealing with modesty? You know, what role does society play when it comes? What type of influence does society have on the thinking of teenagers when it comes to social media, music, videos, video games, fashion, etc.? How does modesty affect teenagers today?
Agreeing with both Heaven and Phoebe,
Hmm.
like it's like of course it's like, social media and everything like that, and everyone's trying to be the same, like because people want like attention and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I'll
Okay.
that and my like what I would say to a person that's dealing with that is to
Uh huh.
not be yourself, like be who God created you to be, honestly,
All right.
because there's always going to be people that's going to be the same and do the same thing and everything like that, especially in the social media age. Everyone wants to be it, everybody wants to be popping, everybody wants to
Hmm.
be in the front screen and stuff like that. They
Uh-huh.
want views, everybody want likes, all that stuff.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
a person that's different and set apart and stands out, you know,
Hmm.
that's worth it, because that's who God made you. He made you in his image, not in the world's image.
Okay. All right. Great answers from all of you. And those of you that are out there in Facebook and YouTube world, we want to hear your comments. We want to know what your thoughts are as far as modesty is concerned. We want to hear from you. Share your thoughts, share your comments, and remember to be nice. Okay. Because we don't want anything but that. All right. So we want to hear from you. Tell us what you think. Give us your comments about being modest. So now, I heard Phoebe mention a standard of beauty, a standard of beauty. Heaven talked about being your own self, and Kendra mentioned something similar to that. So the opposite of modesty is immodesty. Okay, so you're not being modest, you're not being decent, you're being more revealing, and you're putting yourself out there to get more likes on the internet or to get more likes in person. And so let me ask you, ladies, this question: do immodesty and seeking attention go hand in hand? Does the fact that people want the young ladies want to show more skin, more flesh, more cleavage, more leg with the shorts? Does that go hand in hand with just seeking attention or being accepted? What are your thoughts on that? Do you see that in your arenas, in your worlds? Do you think that some young ladies show more for acceptance because if they cover more, maybe they won't get as much attention or likes on the internet or in person? What are your thoughts about that? Showing more to get more attention.
Um,
Anybody?
From my okay. So for me, I noticed a lot in my school and just the people that I've met and the environment that I've been in. A lot of times a
Mm-hmm.
lot of women, a lot of girl I won't say women, let me not say women, young women, they tend
Uh-huh.
to follow the social norms of wearing less clothes or wearing tight clothes, or a lot of times they see that this is what gets them the attention. And a lot of times girls grow up and we want attention, but when you look at social media and you take that as value, you look and you find the wrong ways to get that attention. And a lot of times that attention isn't the necessary attention that you need. It's just what you value because that's the influence that you've grown up with. So I feel like a lot of girls, they need attention, but it's not the correct attention. And so I feel like they
Mm-hmm.
do take that and they do say, okay, well, this is what's getting me attention. This is what's getting me noticed. Let me take this and let me use this to my advantage to be seen or to be heard. But in the end, it's not always a good reflection of yourself. And so I feel like a lot of girls
Okay.
should take that into consideration.
Okay. Okay. Heaven, Phoebe, any comments on the appearance that people display in order to get more likes? Any comments?
What I was gonna say is, I feel like one thing I cannot stand about, like, as a young woman is we put so much consideration into what guys think of us. And so part of
Okay.
that wanting attention is not even wanting attention from social media, it's wanting attention from guys. And because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for every young teenage boy, let's be truthful, most teenage boys respond to most skin. It could be a group of
Mm-hmm.
girls, all of them could be gorgeous, but the one who has everything hanging out, they want her. They don't
Okay.
want the one in the back all covered up. And so I feel like as young girls, we're not just trying to please like society in general. We're trying to please the young boys that we're around because the boys are the ones saying, "Oh, if you don't have a big butt, you're not this. If you're not loose, you're not this." And so I just feel like we put so much care into how young men feel about us. And like, how do you feel about yourself? Why does it
Mm-hmm.
matter what how he feels about you? He could care less about you. He just sees you as another body.
Mm-hmm.
He That's the thing. So I just feel like as young girls, we have to watch like like how much attention we give to how guys think and feel. Not saying just like throw out how they feel like completely. I'm just saying, you know, when a guy has bad intentions and you're trying to get that
Mm-hmm.
attention from him. And so I just feel like we had to watch out for that.
Okay. Kendra, any thoughts on showing more to get more likes in person or over the internet?
Yeah, I definitely agree with both Heaven and Phoebe. Just like it's the truth, like, sometimes we like wear less and stuff just for people to like, well, like Kevin said, especially like guys, we want them to see us
Uh-huh.
first,
Uh-huh.
them to
Uh-huh.
pick us, because we feel as though if they don't say anything, like, oh, they don't like us and whatever. And
Right.
a lot of boys
Right.
use that as debate, like, oh yeah, like if she doing this, if she doing that, I know she gonna be on this when I talk to her. Like, especially if
Uh-huh.
you dress it like that, that's gonna give them that perception as if like you want to do something with them. And that's how, like, a lot of girls, like, they don't want to make themselves seem that way, but when you wearing less skin, well, when you wearing like less like clothing to show your skin, like you
Uh-huh.
should already have that in your mind. People are going to think that about you, like, oh, that's what she's about,
Mhm.
that's what she's on. And that's what guys really be on. Well, not all guys, but most guys. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. I got a question for all three of you, and I want your honest answer. Okay. Y'all ready? Got seatbelt on? Have you ever seen an outfit in the mall that was too revealing, showing a little more than it should? It's really cute. Okay. And you really wanted to buy it. I see. Have you ever seen an outfit in the mall and it was really cute, but it was a little too revealing? Uh, um, uh, did you purchase it or didn't you? And what you did or didn't do? You saw I'm talking about a cute. That's cute because I hear when my wife and daughter are shopping, I hear, oh, that's cute. I hear that so much. And so I was just wondering, have you ever seen that outfit in the mall? It was really cute, but you said, ah, that's going to show a whole lot. Did you buy it or did you not buy it? Tell me. And if you did or didn't, tell me what led to your decision. Who will go first? Go ahead, Heaven.
So I love to shop. I'm just gonna say that first. And it's been so many times when I've seen an outfit and I was like, that's so cute, but everything is gonna be out. And it's just like, dang, because like all my friends, they know I'm Christian. People who meet me,
Mm-hmm.
they can just get the vibe. Like, just remember at the end of the day, you're representing Christ. And then two, like, ooh, like, well, I'm somewhere and my parents happen to walk and they see me wearing this. It's like, ugh, do I want that? And it's
Mm-hmm.
just like it's not even you don't just represent Christ, you represent your parents and you represent yourself. And so you just have to
Uh-huh.
think back to what Kevin said, do you want that perception on you if you wear that? So I might try it on, but I won't buy it because I gotta just see how I look in it, but I won't buy it. But I will try it.
Uh, Phoebe, Kendra, would you care to elaborate on that cute outfit you saw? But when you tried it on or you held it up next to you, say, "Oh boy, that's going to be revealing." What made you buy it or what made you not buy it?
Well, for me, homecoming was like a couple of weeks ago, and I was just like, ooh,
Uh
I
huh.
was seeing all this stuff in the mall. I was like,
Uh huh.
that's an option, that's an option. But like
Uh
what Heaven said is so true. Like, would you like, first of all, God and then your parents, and I know my mama,
huh.
I'm not gonna try her. I'm not gonna try her. So
Uh
I'm gonna leave it where it's at and walk out the store.
huh. I see you smiling. Tell us your story, Phoebe. What about that cute outfit?
Uh,
And it was really cute, but you knew it was going to be borderline. What went on with your decision making?
Okay, so I'm gonna talk about an experience I've had. So growing
Okay.
up, like I said about social media, my self confidence in a way was kind of faded. So growing up, I
Uh huh.
had to learn that your image is in God. So as I grew more in my faith, my self confidence and my self
Okay.
love grew. So when I was younger, I would
Okay.
argue a lot with my parents because I wanted to wear the shirts that were kind of short, the crop tops. Why can't I wear crop tops? All my friends are wearing crop
Mm-hmm.
tops. And so I didn't
Mm-hmm.
fully understand. And so yes, I would go and I would buy these clothes and my mom would be like, that's not okay, you have to cover up. And so I've had experiences where I've bought shirts and not really understood the reflection that it had on me until I
Mm-hmm.
understood what they meant about like the image that people have of you and the way they perceive you. And so it
Mm-hmm.
really woke me up and kind of made me realize like, hey, you are a girl who's saving herself for marriage. You have this relationship with God and you want people to see that by your modesty, and it's not just for other people but to protect your self-worth and your identity so that people understand like, hey, this is a modest woman, this is a woman that's growing up, she respects herself, she respects others, and overall she wants God to be seen through her. So I grew up and I finally understood that now. So yes, I have bought shirts that were a little less on the modest side of life.
Well, ladies, there's nothing wrong with being honest. Because remember, crucial dialogue. We're on so we can help somebody. We don't want to seem as though any of us are perfect. And I appreciate your transparency in sharing. Broussard, do we have any questions from our viewers from Facebook or YouTube? Are there any questions or give us some comments? Let's see what feedback we're getting from the public. Okay, from Sister Ross, I believe that's Princess Firecracker. Hey, she says, "Can I have that one back?" She asked a question. Who do you look up to, ladies, admire in this world that you consider to be modest, and why? Who do you look up to and admire in this world and you consider them to be modest, and why do you look up to them and why do you consider them to be modest? Let's help somebody with that question. Thank you, Broussard and Sherelle. Who do you look up to?
I have like this YouTuber that I watch.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Jalen, and her YouTube is Face Over Matter, and I really respect her because like I guess back in the day she had her YouTube and she was really young like us, and she
Uh-huh.
was starting college and stuff, and she didn't really take her relationship with God serious yet at that time.
Okay.
So
Okay.
she was doing things, like saying things and all that. But as now, like 2021, you watch her videos and you see the growth, and how God has produced so much like inside of her to actually help other people, younger women like us. And
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy watching her, and she's so like uplifting and encouraging, and always telling people about Christ and trying to help people see that it's not just about like how you look and everything. It's always about God, and like it's always about
Amen. Amen.
helping someone else do better for themselves. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Go ahead, Heaven.
Mine might be like, oh, you're just saying that, but mine, ever since I was little, has been First Lady. Like,
Uh,
I don't know what it is. Ever since I was a little girl, I this lady, First Lady is always dressed so nice, and she's never doing too much,
uh-huh.
you know? It's just the right
Uh-huh.
amount of style, classy, and modest, and she still has her arms
Mm,
out from time to time, her legs out, and she's
uh-huh.
not doing too much, not asking for attention. And so
Okay.
I've always respected that about her because she has like I don't know, she's so sophisticated. When I was a little girl, I've always just aimed to be like her, and so that would be mine.
Okay. All right. Cool. Phoebe, tell us who do you admire when you look for modesty? Who is your example? Do you have one? Tell us.
Um, I have two actually. So, one would be
Okay.
my mom. Just kind of like
Okay.
we talk a lot, and I'm able to really talk with her and kind of get an understanding of a lot more things. And also, my second one is Priscilla Shire. If you all know who she is, that is Tony Evans' daughter. And so, me and my
Okay.
mom, we kind of watch a lot of her conferences, and we kind of just listen to how she talks. And she's like my end goal of how I want to be, like how I'm striving in my walk. I want to be
Okay.
more like in my word more. I want to have like an influence for young girls to show them the right way to
Okay.
be in the right way. And she's really modest. Like if you like a lot of her sermons and the way she dresses, she's still like Heaven said, she's classy and she's the right amount of like dressing cute. She has her shoulders out from time to time, but she has like an elegance and a modesty to it, to where you're not like, oh, she's
Uh-huh.
not showing too much, but still the right amount. So I also really look up to Priscilla Shire as well.
Okay. All right, man. You all are on it on today. I appreciate all of your answers. And I do hope that, well, I believe we're helping somebody when it comes to modesty and how it's affecting teenagers and all and some other going on. So let's switch gears a little bit, ladies. So I have another question for you. Let's help somebody in the way. Well, let's just discuss. What role do you think the family structure plays in how a person is modest or not? What role do you think the family structure at home, at where they live, where someone may live, what role does the family structure play in someone's life when it comes to modesty? Let's talk about that for just a moment. Anyone can go first. Go
I would love to go first on this one.
ahead. Go
I feel
ahead.
like it's especially like in a lot of African American households, black fathers aren't present, and so it's just a mother. And when it's a mother in a household, teenage girls especially get away with a lot because when there's no man there to say, "Oh no, you need to cover up. That's not appropriate," or this, that, and the third. I feel like the mom, because she was younger, she's like, "Oh, she's just wearing a little crop top. I used to wear those." And she won't see
Hmm.
an issue
Hmm.
with it. So with there being no male presence, there's no one to say, "Hey, no, you need to go back and change." And I'm saying that some
Uh-huh.
single moms don't do that because some single moms do that. I'm just saying, but just like in the black community in general, we struggle with that a lot with there being an absence of fathers. Because even in the young men with the the whole sagging and this too not being modest in their actions because they never had a male figure in their life, and so they get raised
Uh-huh.
by the streets, and so they
Okay.
don't know how to be modest with their actions. They don't know how to model self control or anything like that because they were never in it. And not saying that a mother can't do that, but a mom can't do everything by herself. So that would
Okay.
be what I.
Amen.
All right. All right. Phoebe, Kendra, would you care to share? How do you think what role does the family structure play when it comes to modesty in young men and young women your age?
everything that she addressed. A lot of
Hmm.
times in a family where you would see two parent households, you have the father's knowledge of just like being a young man growing up and just a lot of things that young men look after and consider since they are more
Okay.
visual. And then you
Okay.
also have the mother who understands where the daughter is coming from, but also at the same time, as she's gotten older, she has wisdom and knowledge for the daughter and to benefit the daughter. So I feel like a lot of times when you don't have that balance, like in a lot of Black community, we don't have a healthy balance. And if your mom's always working, or if the mom is like trying to have her own, rest, and but also take care of her kids, it's a lot of teaching and a lot of conversation and a lot less of development because of everything that's going on. And so I feel like a lot of kids, they grow up and they don't have this relationship with their parents, or their parents are educating them or really teaching and training. And a lot of families are
Hmm.
going away from Christianity and going away from like being centered around Christ. And I feel like that's also a big part of it, because when you have a center of Christ, you have an understanding of why he gave us these rules to protect us and to guide us through life, to benefit us. And when you stop having this center, you have kids that grow up and don't listen to their parents, or you have single parent households where it's a lot harder to raise more than one kid. And so I agree completely with Heaven said and how it's a completely different effect.
Okay. Kendra,
I
what
was
what
gonna
role
say
does the family structure play? Go ahead. Go.
the family structure really does play a big part. I was gonna kind of say the same thing as Phoebe. Like, if you don't have Christ in the center, as now, like you see the young people now today, not having like Christ in the center, and they're ending up in relationships, toxic relationships, some not, some toxic, and not really practicing the will of God, like being married before having sex, and then like
Hmm.
falling into like this like tumble effect, or like whatever it's called, like you know what I mean. But
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
falling
Yeah.
into like some type of like spiral effect where they like they meet each other, they start a relationship, they do something, and now they have a child on the way, and now they're like growing their kids up in like broken, like it's not even in order, like it's just
Uh-huh.
all out of order. So I'll say it plays a big part, because when the girl or the little boy grows up, it's kind of like they don't see their parents doing the right thing, especially in this
Okay.
generation. So
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Okay. Now, something was mentioned earlier. We're going away from modesty. One of you said that. So, do you think modesty has been totally disregarded? And look, now let's help Christian teenagers. Okay. Do you think, now we all know Christian teenagers, you all being active members in in the youth extreme ministry? Me and my wife, I'm the youth pastor. My wife assists me, so we know teenage Christians. Do you feel like modesty has been disregarded by teenage Christians? Yes or no? Talk about
I feel like when you
anybody.
address this, I feel like when you address this topic, it is really like a slippery kind of slope, because there are a lot of
Okay.
teens who don't have well, they go to church, but they don't have like a relationship with the people that are in their church, and they don't have
Okay.
relationships where you're constantly checking on each other. Because I feel like, in my opinion, your growth and your discipleship with God needs fellowship, and you need other people around you that's holding you accountable in your walk, that's holding you accountable in a lot of things that you're going to go through. So like if you have a
Hmm.
relationship with someone where they can be like, hey, don't forget, you have to be modest at all times. Like, consider how
Hmm.
people are going to see you, how people are going to view you. And sometimes you can
Hmm.
have other friends that can kind of fall off of where you were going. And I feel like a lot of
Okay.
teens that are Christian can kind of sometimes forget, hey, I'm representing Christ 24/7 all the time. And I need to make sure
Okay.
that I'm making sure that I'm also being safe, but I'm also helping my brothers or sisters in Christ stay out of mindsets that they shouldn't be in. But also just that a lot of times we can slip and slide and get so caught up in school and the world that we kind of fall back on our relationships with God. So I think it is a slippery slope when it comes to falling away from modesty and your walk.
Okay.
Amen.
That sounds like Phoebe is suggesting that teenagers have an accountability partner in the ministry with them, someone to walk alongside of them to help them out. Heaven, you had a comment.
I was about to go right back to what you said. I was about to say, as teenagers, we don't hold each other accountable. I'm even
Okay.
guilty of this. I've had times where I've been on my, I was like, what is she? I didn't say that out loud. I said it to myself.
Uh-huh.
And so I feel like as young Christians, we don't hold each other accountable. Because I've even had times sometimes where I might be crossing a line low key, but nobody
Hmm.
told me anything. It's because we don't hold each other accountable.
Okay. Kendra, you're nodding. What do you think about that? I see you nodding.
I'll say I feel the same way, but sometimes, like, I feel like you'll be afraid to step on somebody else's toes a little bit because then you don't want to seem religious, and then you don't want them to be judging you. So it's kind of like you look on it like both
Oh.
sides. Like it's like, oh man, but like I'm just wearing this today and whatever, and then somebody say something to you, you gonna feel like, oh, like I'm being judged or whatever. But
Hmm.
like, I don't know. I feel like we should be real and honest about that. Like, hey, that ain't right. What you wearing or
Hmm.
what you saying really, because sometimes it's not always about the clothing. It might be just the way you acting. When you just acting all out and doing the most and stuff like
Uh-huh.
that. That makes up for what you wearing. I mean,
Uh,
honestly.
okay, okay. I want to say to you all, to you three ladies, you are doing a wonderful job on Crucial Dialogue, and I'm really enjoying just co-hosting, asking you the questions, and hearing what your thoughts are. Now, what your thoughts are. Now, let's shift a little bit. We're talking about modesty, and the main topic so far has been modesty in our dress. Okay, I'm going to read a verse to you. It comes from Paul's letter to the church at Ephesus, Ephesians chapter 4, verse 29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, okay? But that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. Let's talk a little bit about modesty in our speech, okay? Modesty in our speech. Let no, one version of the Bible says, one translation says, let no foul, stinky odor of a communication come out of your mouth. But that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. Let's talk about modesty with our speech, okay? How are we doing with that? Why are teenagers challenged to be modest in their speech? Come on, Phoebe, I see that. I know that look. Tell us what you're thinking, Phoebe. Why are teenagers struggling with modesty in their speech? Help somebody out today.
So, another big portion of social media is music, and a lot of music that we
Okay,
listen to can influence us. And I
okay,
remember I believe either last year or the beginning, earlier this year, when we were having Wednesday discussion, my father he was talking about music and just how it influences our life and how we can listen to
uh-huh,
certain music and we can have music that makes us sad, music that makes us angry, music that kind of affects our moods. And so I feel like a lot of times, a lot of teenage boys, they're influenced by music, and a lot of girls are influenced by music. And so I feel like the music that we listen to can kind of depend on the language that we hold, which I think is really true
uh-huh,
because I feel like a lot of teenagers, they listen to rap music, a lot of listen to trap music, they listen to all these music that today are a lot more sexual, a lot more vulgarity, and so I feel like a lot of times the music that we hold can kind of also affect the way we mentally think, and so a lot of teenagers have this idea now of you can't tell me what to do, you can't run me, and I can do whatever
mm-hmm,
I want because I'm borderline an adult, I'm borderline grown. And so I feel like that's also an influence from the music that we listen to that gives them this mindset of, I can say what I want to say. And a lot of teenagers, if we aren't careful, that's why we have to be cautious of the music that we listen to as Christians,
mm-hmm,
because it can
mm-hmm,
kind of affect us as well. And so I myself can listen to this music and I know I shouldn't. And so sometimes I try to make sure, okay, well, if I'm going to listen to one song, let me the rest of the week try my best to not listen to it so I can ease myself off this music. And I sometimes feel at that. I'm going to be honest. A lot of times I can get mad at myself because I'm like, hey, you're not supposed to be listening to this kind of music. Why are you listening to
mm-hmm,
this music? Or a tune could pop up in my head. I'm like, whoa, why am I humming to this song? And so it's just a lot of times that music that we listen to can affect us. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Man, thank you for sharing that. Phoebe, I'm sorry, Heaven and Kendra. Let's talk about modesty in our speech. well, let's just cross the grass. Why are so many teens cursing today, huh? Why are they not
So
modest in their speech? Come on, Heaven.
I feel like nowadays so much is desensitized to us from 0 to now. People cuss in
Uh-huh.
front of their kids when they're like 2 years old. Like I have little cousins like who like they say, "Oh yeah, I heard my mommy say that." I'm like, "You heard your mommy say what?" And like it's starting from when these it's starting from when these kids are like 2 years old because kids
Uh-huh.
as children we're creatures of habit and we follow what our
Mhm.
parents do. I feel like so many parents forget that your children are always watching you. Your
Right.
children are all you. Even if, like especially like you might think we're asleep. Oh no, we're up, we're awake, and so your
Oh,
children are
really?
always watching you. I feel
Oh,
like
okay.
parents I feel like parents forget that. And I'm not blaming it on parents in general, but I feel like it starts in the home. If a child
Okay.
hears their parents cuss and they think, oh, my mama doing it, I can do it too. And so it
Hmm.
starts in the home. Like your home foundation is something. That's why it's back to what Phoebe and Kendra said. When Christ is not in the center of the household, you can tell. And it's
Oh,
crazy to
oh,
me too.
wow.
Like even when there are households and they're like, oh yeah, my mom's a devout Christian, they act like out of character and they're not modest. I'm like, so what's really going on? And
Okay.
so when Christ is not the center of the household, you can tell. And I'm not blaming parents, but I feel like
Mhm.
a lot of the time it starts at the household. You hear your mom listen to a song, you're like, okay, what's this? Because even sometimes like you listen to music and I'm just okay. And I just feel like so much is desensitized to us as children. And we, from a young age, we're taught, oh, it's okay. It's okay. And especially in this generation now, like people slip so much stuff in for kids to see. And now it starts because everything starts out small.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
as
Subtle.
progressively over time, it gets more and more and more. So I feel like with cursing, since so much stuff is desensitized in this generation, cursing is just common.
Okay.
And that's
Okay.
all I had to say on
Kendra, tell us about modesty in our speech. Why the Bible says, let no corrupt communication come from your mouth. Why is so much foul, corrupt communication come from the mouths of our teenagers? What's going on?
Um, I would like piggyback off of what Heaven said and also say what I had to say too. But like I like for real agree because I mean, like little kids just be I don't know, they repeat everything like parrots.
Uh-huh.
So it's just
Uh-huh.
like they gonna be listening they listen to everything you say and I don't know. But what I was gonna say is like people cuss for to me I feel like people cuss like especially teenagers they cuss because they want to be
Uh-huh.
cool and they
Okay.
like they see other people in school do it so it's
Okay.
like oh I'm gonna say this too so I can get my little laugh or my cool points in because every time
Okay.
when I talk to some people sometimes they can't go a sentence without cussing because they like so used to it like they don't even know what they saying and it's just like
Okay.
it's like, why do you have to say that after that? Like, you didn't ruin the joke. But, like, yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, okay, cool. Brouchard, do we have any questions from the Facebook and YouTube world? Do we have any comments that we could show? Give us a couple of questions so we could see if someone has something they want to ask one of our lovely panelists on today. Are there any questions coming in from the Facebook and YouTube world? All right, thank you. This question goes to the young ladies. If you were mentoring middle school girls, what would you say to them about things to keep in mind regarding dress? Okay, ladies, if you were mentoring middle school girls, you're in a mentor program, what would you say to them about things to keep in mind regarding dress? How would you help a middle school girl with modesty? Anybody? The floor is open.
For me, because self-image was a big thing for me in middle school. I was so insecure in middle
Uh-huh.
school. I would say to that young lady, to not consider or to not take to heart so much of your surroundings and the environment and the people that are around you, and to focus more on yourself and just the image that you want to hold of yourself. Do you want to be a well-respected girl? Do you want people to have this image of she's a young woman, she's having this, she's striving for herself? or do you want to be the
Hmm.
topic of conversation for guys? Because I feel like in a lot of growing up, we feel like that was something to achieve, for guys to address you.
Okay.
But as you get
Okay.
older, you kind of would rather someone see you of this high standard of she wants to do something big for herself, or she is really intelligent, she's bright, she's smart. And so I would tell that girl is to always keep your head up and to like make sure you always covered up, because the image that you hold of the reputation that you have, I feel like is more valuable than the influence of minors around you, and just that your peers, their opinion doesn't matter as much. And that's what I would say.
All right. Heaven, Kendra, how would you mentor a middle school girl? You say to her, keep in mind regarding her dress. And we're talking about being modest. All right. Go ahead, Kendra. Go ahead.
I would say like don't dim your light for nobody. Like
Don't dim your light for nobody.
don't make don't try to fit in with the crowd. Like I said earlier, like be like we've been reading the book Set Apart and stuff. Like be set apart. Like you're your own
Amen.
person. You're unique. You're you. Like don't ever like try to just wear some like clothes and stuff just to be cool or something. Like it's not worth it. Like what Phoebe
Uh-huh.
said, I went through the same thing. Like middle school was bad for me, and I was just doing the most because I wanted to be cool. I wanted attention. I wanted friends. I wanted all that. But at the end of the day, when I left middle school, I noticed that it like that's not worth it. Like, you're gonna meet new people that's gonna like you for you. They don't like you because you're like them. They only friends with
Hmm.
you because you're yourself. So
Okay, very good. Heaven, how would you're mentoring a middle school young lady or multiple middle school girls. What would you say to them to help them to keep in mind when it comes to modesty, especially concerning how they dress?
So first I would say, hey, if you look 30 now and you're 13, when you're
Okay.
actually 30, you won't have anything to look forward to. And just also too, be your own person. Exactly what Phoebe and Kendra said. Be your own person. Like you don't
Hmm.
have to be the aesthetic. That's what they call it now. The aesthetic that everybody wants you to be. You can be your own person. It's so many ways to be trendy and still have style. Like I really give kudos to Muslim girls because they can dress the house down and they will be covered all the way up and still look good. And I feel like there's just so many ways that you can still look good and you can be modest. And another thing Phoebe said too, you want to be respected. You don't
Right.
want to be seen as that girl that when you walk in the room, everybody whispering and they're looking at you because they're talking about your outfit. That's not fun and it's not cute. And so I just feel like you don't want to start that young because it will become a pattern. You'll be like that in high school, you'll be like that in college, and when you're a grown woman, you're just gonna be like, well, I've always done this, so I don't know any different. So don't start the cycle now. Put a stop to it.
All right.
Amen.
Bouchard. Bouchard, we got time for one more question from the audience. If you got another question, you can put up. Great job, ladies. You all are handling these questions like pros. If I was in the room with you, I'd give you all a high five. All right. Another question from Robert Ransburg. Does it help when a father tells his daughter or daughters that he loves them and treats them as little princesses? Does that help with modesty? Go ahead, Heaven.
I would say 100%. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have a father in my life who wasn't showing me how I'm supposed to be treated by a man. I wouldn't know how, because I feel like when your dad is there and he's treating you like a princess and he's telling you he loves you and showing you the love, you get that perception of how a man is supposed to treat you, how a man is supposed to
Hmm.
love you. And then two,
Hmm.
like I don't know, it just sets the framework and it sets the foundation for when you're a grown woman and you're going into the world and you are looking for a man of God. That's just so important that a father does that because us as girls, we really value that. Like, that's like so many young women who don't have father in the household. They go out looking for that love in another man because they never had it in the first place. Us as women, we really crave that from our fathers. I know at least I do. And so I just feel like it happens so much in the world where a young woman doesn't have her dad in the house. And so she's searching for that love she should have had in the first place in a young man who doesn't even care about her. I feel like that's so important.
All right,
Yeah.
Kendra, Phoebe, I see you nodding. Go ahead.
I completely agree with Heaven. I know for myself, growing up, my father would always have conversations with me just about like self-respect and just how a guy should treat you. He would take me on these little daddy-daughter dates where he would open the door for me, he'd open the car door, he'd take
Hmm.
me to eat, or he'll sit down and be like, okay, this is how a man is supposed to treat you. He's supposed to take care of you. I would work 5 jobs before I ever let your mom work 2. That's an actual quote from what he has said. And he just, the
Okay.
way, also with the way that he loves my mother. You know, growing up, it's important that you look and you take the relationships that you have around you and you view them and you observe them. Because if you have a father who loves your mother, who works hard for your family, who takes care of you guys, and you have this amazing relationship in front of you, your idea of how a relationship should be and how you want your man of God to be is so high. And that's why a lot of people, if you meet a lot of teenagers now or people that know me, they're like, oh, she has really high standards. She has this big idea of how she wants her guy to be, or she's this girl that you can't just easily talk to. And I take that with pride. It might not be the idea that everybody wants, but I just really appreciate my dad for taking me out and for showing me that this is how a man's supposed to love his wife. This is how he's supposed to treat his family, how he's supposed to take care of his family. And I feel like when you have that growing up, you have this idea to yourself like, oh no, I'm loved, I'm respected. My father treats me so well, so why should I let you treat me any lower than that? I have this value that God has given me and that I've grown up with, so I'm not gonna dim that for anybody. Like you said, dimming my life for anybody. And so I feel like that's really important to have a relationship with your dad growing up.
All right.
Amen.
All right, Kendra, comments. I see you smiling and nodding.
So personally, my experience is my dad wasn't really in my life like that.
Okay.
So I really don't kind of like know. I've been blessed to have my stepfather come in my life.
Okay.
My mom
Okay.
got married, and he has took that step and actually always told me
Amen.
like, hey, you do what you got to do, like don't be worried about these boys because like so it's just a
Yeah.
blessing,
Yeah.
like but yeah, like I'm another person that like didn't really have that, but I understand it. I agree. It does help. It helps with the daughter's self-esteem, like it really
Uh-huh.
does. So yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Well, great. Well, ladies, time flies when you're having fun. So we're going to wrap up this session. I want you to give. I want to go around the room. I'll start with Phoebe. We'll finish up with Kendra like we began. I want to ask you, what advice would you give to a teenage young girl? You being a senior in high, you all are seniors in high school this time next year. You'll be working. You'll be in college. You will have started the next chapter in your life. In just a few brief comments or statements, what would you say to juniors, sophomores, and freshmen about modesty? What would you say if you could say something real quick to the room? What would you have to say? All right, let's go, Phoebe.
Okay, for me, I would just say modesty also helped. Modesty was just a big part of growing up. I feel like a lot of times we have to stop taking consideration everybody else's opinions and just focus on how
Hmm.
we want ourselves to be viewed. And I want to be viewed as this intelligent woman because I know what I want to do with my life and I know where I'm going. And so I wanted that to also show in my output. Just like with God, I wanted people to look at me and say, "Oh, she's a young woman. She's intelligent. She's bright. She's smart." And so I took that
Hmm.
into consideration of my parents and just how they taught me. And like when I started putting that into the way I dress, people would always come, oh, you look so great, you look so beautiful, but you're so bright, you're so smart, you're sweet, you're kind. And so I took that and I was like, okay, this is really true, like this is really important. And so it just built me
Uh-huh.
up. And
Uh-huh.
now I don't take into consideration anybody else's opinions but God and my parents. And I've like sailed from how I was my sophomore year of high school. And I really realized that when you focus and you like have God at the center, your life goes by a lot easier. It's not going to be perfect, but it goes by a lot easier, and you have a foundation that's really great. And so I feel like it's important to listen to your parents and take consideration of reading your Bible a lot more and just making sure that you just stay focused on what you want to do in life and not let the influence of people around you affect who you are.
All right. Thank you, Phoebe. Having closing remarks, what would you say? How would you help some young teen, junior, sophomore, freshman? What would you say in a few brief comments as far as concerning modesty?
I'm gonna say what I wish someone would have said to me as a freshman, junior, and sophomore. God makes no mistakes. You are beautiful just the way you are. And don't try to find your identity in the world. Find your identity in Christ and the rest is straight. And that's all I have to say.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Kendra, closing remarks. Help some underclassmen out when it comes to modesty.
I would say guard your heart above all else. Like the scripture that says that, because like some people like to be deceived by the tricks and the schemes of the devil. Cause I mean, that's just what social media is. I'm gonna say I'm not trying to say like all social media is bad, but like
Mm-hmm.
most 99% of social media is of just worldly things, and it's just like guard your heart, and especially in school, like don't let people influence you and talk you into doing things that you know isn't right and you weren't raised to
Mm-hmm.
do, because you know it's right from wrong in general. I mean, that's what God put inside of each and every single one of us. So
Uh-huh.
that's all.
Well, man, awesome job, ladies. Awesome job. I am so glad we took this time and set aside to invite you, young ladies from the Youth Extreme Ministry at Christian Bible Church, to help some young lady out there and some young men when it comes to modesty. We started off with a definition. We'll end with that. Modesty means the quality of being modest, freedom from vanity, freedom from boastfulness, a regard for decency of behavior, a decency of speech, and of dress. It means simplicity. It means in moderation. And so we've been studying, as you heard Kendra mention, this book called Set Apart. We've been studying as a fellowship and in the Youth Extreme Ministry, and modesty was a very integral part of that study. The study is still ongoing, and we just want to encourage those of you that may be listening out there in Facebook and YouTube world to go to the www Powerhouse of Love, check out the Youth Extreme drop down, sign up. We would love to have you and your teenager join us as we discuss part. I'll close out with this verse concerning how we ought to carry ourselves. Since we talked about social media, since we talked about the dress and the behavior that's all influenced by the world. Romans chapter 12, verse 1 and 2 simply says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reason. He goes on to say, and be not conformed to this world that's immodest, but have modesty in your life, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good, thank you, Brouchard, and acceptable and perfect will of God. Thank you so much for your time, Phoebe, Heaven, and Kendra. This has been wonderful. I hope that, and I won't say I hope, I know that someone has been blessed because dialogue, your crucial dialogue tonight on modesty. Well, folks, time flies when you're having fun. Join us next time on the same crucial channel at the same crucial time for Crucial Dialogue. This is Reverend Clinton Thomas. I hope to see you again. God bless you.
This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Make sure you never miss a show by joining us on Mondays at 6 p.m. by going to our website, powerhouseoflove.org, our YouTube and Facebook channel, or the Google and Apple Podcasts. Hope you tune in next time.